And we are go. The Girl in the Spider's Thoughts film The Girl in the Spider's Web. And the original title in Swedish translates to, in English, That Which Does Not Kill Us. And in Swedish is Det som inte dödar oss. And what I really like about that is that basically their word for kill, in this particular instance, I think there might have more than one. I'm not drunk, I swear. Their word for kills is deader, as in, you know, or deading, I guess is what, you know, to make something dead, which is just, I love language sometimes. And yes, I had to get at least a little bit of Swedish pronunciation out of my system. I've watched the 4 movies already made adapting the Millennium books. 3 of them are Swedish, and they're all over 2 hours. Some are 2 hours and 20 minutes. That is a lot of Swedish for someone who is not a native Swedish speaker, but who speaks a language very closely related to Swedish. Right, so we are gonna dive headfirst into... Alright, let me quickly go. As you can probably let's see, there we go. Spoilers for the entire series up to this point. And I guess that's pretty much what I have to say about that. So, notes taken while watching, and as per usual for a theater release, this is going to be via my notepad. Now, let's see, as expected from the trailer, one of the very first scenes is the vigilante scene that we also see in the trailers. Now, this does not quite have a 9 Inch Nails music video opening like Fincher's, and I'm going to try to specify which, I'm going to try not to just say The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, because that does refer to 2 different movies as of 2011. So yeah, I'll use various phrases. I'm going to try to make clear so you aren't sitting there wondering. And no, that is not my joke. The 9 Inch Nails music video, that is from the abridged script, which is great. Read it back then, read it again. Great script. And we open on the kids playing chess, and you know, Hollywood loves chess. It's such a, you know, this is the, how do we communicate to the audience that these characters are smart, competitive, they can think strategically, and they're classy. Chess. And yeah, it's a perfectly fine opening. I don't really have any objection to it. And we see that Elizabeth won, and when Camilla knocks over the king piece, obviously, there's a spider that was like underneath the piece, and like it you know, forms a web between 2 of the chess pieces. So I guess the chess piece is hollow, and that poor thing was just waiting for an escape. Good thing Elizabeth is good thing Elizabeth is really great at chess, but that thing would have been in there forever. And you know, they're told by one of the guys, you know, your father wants to talk to you, and they walk in, you know, they hold hands and they walk into where the father's sitting, and there's like, excuse me, still got back issues, and he's like, you know, come over here, and Camilla does, but Elizabeth doesn't, and you know, you have this, they let go of each other's hands for that too. And I guess the idea is supposed to be that after this, chronologically, after this scene happens, then, yes, after this scene happens, Lisbeth goes back to living with her biological mother, who it's never really said, but I guess is also Camilla's mother, and rather than bringing Camilla to live with Lisbeth again, Zara, their father, goes, I mean, wasn't he living with Lisbeth and her mother for a while? He abused her a number of times, as far as I understand. And then after a particularly heinous one, the one that left her permanently disabled, she set him on fire. And I guess then he just went back to where Camilla was living, and I don't know. I feel like this raises some questions that I'm not entirely sure that they realized that they were, yeah. Now, let's see. Excuse me. Right. And you know, there's it's made clear that Zara wants, sex with them, and does each of these movies add at least one like perversion to them? I mean, the original movie, it's oral and anal rape, and then the second one, let's see, the second one, it's what's it called, trafficking of young women, and then the third, it's underage women, and then in this one it's incest. So yeah, I wonder what the next one will be. At this point, I suppose I should say I haven't read any of the books. Everything I say here is based on what I've seen in the movies and what I've heard or read is in the books, but not read directly from the books. Second-hand account. And right, so back to the notes. Elizabeth jumps, but Camilla stays with her father, and I don't know, I mean, I guess the idea is supposed to be just that, I mean, later in the movie, she says that she blames Lisbeth, which is also pretty clear from the trailers, for what their dad did to her. I guess, yeah, the idea is supposed to be, as she also says, why didn't you come back and rescue me? And we had 16 years and you never came back and rescued me. When really, Lisbeth back then would not have been able to like knock down their father, grab Camilla and drag her over there. It would have had to be Camilla doing, if she was gonna make that jump herself, she would have had to, yeah, it would have been best if she did it before the father got so close to her again. But yeah, I mean, Nostalgia Chick points out in her video on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 that it's not, sometimes we sometimes people who've lived with abusive, you know, family, you know, crap, it has a name, like, I forget. It's not spousal abuse, but like yeah, I think you know what I'm talking about. The kind of housal abuse. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be like. It's an incredibly important topic, but I cannot remember the name right now. Abuse from someone you live with. And yeah, she points out in that video that sometimes more than the person who actually carried out the abuse, the victims of the abuse will blame others for not preventing the abuse. So I guess that's basic. Yeah, psychologically that does check out. I guess just I'm reaching this conclusion now, and because I watched that video, I feel like I should have reached it as I was watching the scene in the movie. You know, it was a pretty good scene when they confront each other at the very end, but it did not have the effect that, yeah, just a brief, I didn't really write down any of it, but I read the wiki plot of the book right after getting home, before hitting record on this, and just a couple of things that I thought. Apparently the leader, which I guess is Camilla, you know, when to people who don't know who she is, she's referred to as Thanos. So that's kind of, yeah. And which is funny because she looks more like the MCU Scarlet Witch. The thing with the thing and the thing. And in the book, it's apparently very clear Camilla does survive the entire book. I guess in this movie, it's you could go either way. She could return in the next one, which I don't know anything about at all. So I'm not going to speculate about. I didn't note this at any point, but I do have to point out, I think she pulls it off, and I don't think it looks silly in the movie, but her being dressed in all red, it is something where you're like, that would really stand out in public. I mean, there's not a lot. Most of the time when we see her, she's far away from public, but yeah, isn't there at least one bit where we see her near a city wearing the, I guess on the bridge, you could call that close enough to a city, where it's just like, all I'm saying is if someone spots her and sees that, okay, there's some bad stuff going down, they're gonna call the police and they're gonna say, I don't know if she did it, but she seems to be involved with it. She doesn't look like an innocent bystander, and she's wearing all red. At that point, it's incredibly difficult for her to hide from the police. So, yeah, just it felt a little too, I don't want to say comic booky, but I also don't want to pretend like I have another word that would make more sense there. So, the music video thing, it's not Nine Inch Nails, it's not a, you know, heavy metal the way it is in the Fincher movie, but it has a similar look. It's just to other music, to more kind of, you know, dramatic kind of music. And I almost noted this with the trailer notes that I have, that I'm gonna go over in the next section, notes taken before watching. Just briefly gonna say, you know, when, yeah, the opening there, you know, I'm sorry about the things I said, and just, dude, I really don't think the things you said were as hurtful to her as the fact that you hit her to the point where she bled. And yeah, we have the entire vigilante attack. I don't have a lot to say about that. It's convenient that he doesn't move before she, knocks over the thing that trapped his feet and hangs him upside down. Did I see that right? Did he wet himself after she zapped his genitals? I mean, that happened in Eight-Legged Freaks as well. I can kind of see how it maybe makes sense. I mean, pee is stored in the balls. I don't know. It was, yeah, okay. Yeah, I've got one or more things about it. It's going to be at the start of the next section. We're told that she's done a series of vigilante attacks, and apparently you can hire her to do stuff where she doesn't work at Milton Security and do like background checks and other hacking kind of stuff anymore, but you can still hire her to do some hacking kind of thing. And when we realize that it's actually like the, let's see, yeah, she was hired by the Sapo, is that how you pronounce it? The the female officer who throws away, I'm just gonna call him NSA guy. Is he called Ned? Ed, Ned? Ed Neddy, the NSA guy, I might try to say. He is kicked out. She's, she like picks him up, and yeah, that Sapo girl. I'm just gonna go with Sapo girl. She's the one who hired. Was it Elizabeth or was it? No, wait, no. She hired the bad guys. Yeah, right. Anyway, and back to the notes here. Very early on, we have nude shower. We see the entire back of her body, and it looks kind of like she's living in the building that we see at the end of the third film. So I mean, I guess that's one of the things. Is this film? I believe the book does, as far as I could tell from the plot on Wikipedia, the book does. But is this film set after the events of all three, or is it only acknowledging the events of one, because that was the only one that was made in English? Before this one, it's a pretty huge difference between the characters. But yeah, it seems like it's acknowledging all three, which sucks for the people who haven't watched the second and third in Swedish with English subtitles. And we were told, the Millennium has a new editor, and he's wearing a cap, and he's doing like this obnoxious speech about it's all about attitude, just you gotta want it, man. And like, oh, he's got 2 million followers online. Do you? The character's in frame for like 2.5 seconds and never interacts with the other characters, as in a way we see. He's just giving that speech. So I don't know if that's an attempt to pander to millennials, or if it's like cracking a joke at the expense of millennials. Like, this is what we think of you. You sound dumb, and you think that internet followers is everything. And yeah, and we're told Blomqvist doesn't like him, and apparently he hasn't been writing, you know, for a while, and I mean, that's just, he, at the start of the first one, he also hadn't written for a while. So yeah, and let's see. What on earth did I write? Oh, right, okay, yeah. So Elizabeth tells us that Cam was working for their father and then committed suicide 3 years ago, which is also, I think, about how much time is supposed to have passed between movie 3 and this one. So for 3 years, you know, she faked her death, and for 3 years she's been running the, you know, yeah, the gang. Let's go with that, the spider gang. I guess they really wanted to get this movie out before Into the Spider-Verse hit, so that people could decide which is the better spider gang. And I don't know what that means. Oh, right. When she's talking to that guy, the boulder, there's this fire thing, like in the, for them it's the foreground, but for us it's the background. And there's this bit where it like flashes red, where usually it's black and white. I have no idea what that means. And we see her ride away on her motorcycle, and we're told, you know, there's this Russian missile. A week ago, they, you know, using the program, they can intercept, and yeah. And, you know, we see that Elizabeth is starting to copy the file using her magic hacking. You know, this is the kind of thing where you feel like this might be a good time to kind of really make a big show of the hacking, because hacking into the NSA, I'm reliably informed by experts around the world, is not easy. So the idea that we don't even see it, she's just, oh, she's copying the thing, but it's a funny scene, and it's like it's 70%, and he like runs out and, you know, hits the hard reset, and he's like, sorry people, this is, I like to think that he just does that every time, like occasionally on a whim, and it's just like, sorry, had to, just, you know, it's a matter of life and death, it's national security, and Bob double dared me, and, you know, he runs back to see to check that, and the, you know, the hard reset, you know, yeah, him turning off the thing was not in time, and then there's like this little, you know, like icon thing, like flips him off. That was pretty funny. I was wondering about it when I watched the trailer, and now having watched the movie, I'm even more, I feel even more, does Elizabeth take milk baths? Because it looks like she's taking milk baths, which is just downright Cleopatra. And that bathtub has like taps. Do those produce milk? I have so many questions. And, you know, we see that the, you know, she's walking back from the bath, and we see a guy stealing her laptop, and, you know, she gets shot. She runs into the panic room, and, you know, there's the huge explosion that, you know, sets off car alarms really far away because of the, what's it called, air, like wave of, yeah, excuse me. I am having my back adjusted very, very soon, for those who get concerned about these kinds of things, watching other people dealing with them. And she's under milk whilst the explosion happened, which I believe would help. I'm not 100% sure it's completely safe, but certainly it's the kind of thing where, like, I've heard of people who try to deal with, like, if they were in a building that was on fire, they try to submerge themselves in water so that, you know, they couldn't catch fire. And the problem with that is that if the fire has enough of a hold and is, you know, even if you can keep from being on fire yourself, one thing is the fire can really heat up the water to a really unhealthy level, but more to the point, if you cannot get rid of the smoke, you will die of smoke inhalation. But this is an explosion. As soon as the explosion is done, there's no more fire and smoke, basically, because it's a Hollywood explosion. At that point, it's basically she's shielding herself from the heat and the air pressure, you know. And that, I think it might, because, you know, everybody who's, you know, if you've ever, like, stuck your hand just, you know, 5 centimeters into water and, like, moved it just a little bit, you can tell water pressure is different from, like, if you're just moving it, you know, really easy, but in water it feels almost like it's slow motion or something. So there, you know, the surface of the water would slow the expansion of air, which is, I read that once and it's fascinating. I never really thought about it, but if it's a regular explosion, so there's no shrapnel and such, it's essentially an incredibly fast expansion of air. That's what hurts and can kill and such. It's not like some, you know, again, Hollywood, we see the big fireball. No, it's just that the air that's, like, up against the thing that explodes moves incredibly fast to, you know, as far as the explosion goes. And yeah, I mean, that's essentially, it's absolutely fascinating. And we have a car chase with basically, you know, Elizabeth is, let's see, you know, yeah, there's, you know, she drives away, so, you know, she is wanted by the police for these, you know, attacks. For anyone who's wondering, I definitely, of this and Peppermint, this is definitely my favorite female empowerment vigilante. You know, we hear, you know, people who've been saved by her saying, oh, she did a wonderful job, I feel so safe. Anyway, the car chase, you know, she is wanted by the police, and she also probably doesn't want to have to answer any questions, you know, if they find her alive in there. And yeah, so she speeds off, and they kind of have to figure that she caused the explosion. So yeah, they pursue her. And again, this is the thing, if it hadn't baffled me so, I would have put these notes under trailer notes, but she speeds her motorcycle, like, off the thing, you know, off the pier, I guess, onto the water, it's ice, and when it cracks the first little bit and she almost goes underwater, she keeps speeding, and then she rides and just on top of the thin ice, and just, yeah, it's Hollywood movie, action movie physics. That's basically it. I'm almost certain the motorcycle would not be able to pick back up after that first crack of, anyway. And, you know, there's the elevator, you know, and she's like, I need your help, you know, she's not like, I really missed you, or I'm so glad you're safe, just I need your help, which is very Elizabeth. And yeah, you know, basically he's supposed to hunt the leader, who's like a ghost. And then I wrote trust Elizabeth, which I'm not entirely sure. Yeah. The I quite like the whole thing with NSA guy. I think that's what I'm gonna go with. The thing that, you know, they pick him up in the airport and take him into the room, and he's like, am I being charged with being, with working for the NSA? And they're like, I know you want to catch this guy, but this is not the US. This is Sweden, and it's my job to catch him. And he's like, I'm actually here. I'm not here on business. I'm here on pleasure. And then she's like, I forget if she says like, I have something for you, and hands him, and he's like, tourist guide. And she's like, if you're spotted anywhere that isn't listed in this book, we're gonna catch you and we're gonna ship your ass back to America. I like that. That was quite. I hadn't quite heard that one before, but it made a lot of sense for that. Excuse me. And let's see. Right, and I think Michael is the one, goes to that one place, the gamer kind of, and goes up and it's like, tell me about the spiders. And at first it's like, he's not going to talk to me, but then, he pops up in another place, leads him in, and it's like, you must be a member since you've got the tattoo. And he's like, this is a scar. And he like takes off, I feel like the leader, the blonde guy who's like right hand, Cam's right hand. I feel like he got your nose just a little bit too far, just a little bit. And yeah, that's if you screw with the movie has swearing, this video is gonna have swearing. If you fuck with the spiders, that's what's gonna happen. And let's see. And Elizabeth, does still want Blomqvist, but she can, she hacks in and sees from laptop camera that the female editor is right there with him, and she's like, I hate to ruin your evening, or something like that. I appreciate, I don't dislike the scene as such, but I just feel like it's so literally, if not for the fact that she was standing in view of the webcam of his laptop, other than that, she wouldn't really have known, I guess, is supposed to be the idea. I just feel like, I don't know, I guess I feel like it would have worked better if she had still been watching him recently and she already knew that the two of them were together. And when he says, should I come over, then she could respond, I guess, the other editor isn't with you tonight then, or something like that. And it is not as strong of a scene as other, it's especially you gotta be careful with a thing like that, because it's the end of the Fincher movie and it's such a compelling ending. Elizabeth sees the two of them together and she's just devastated, and she throws away this incredibly expensive jacket, and just, yeah. So to have this scene here that's essentially, I mean, let's see, did they really have any romantic, I mean, she saves his life. Yeah, that's something I really should have watched for. I guess not. Right now, I'm not remembering any. And let's see. Yeah, and the NSA guy goes into a club, and you know, one of Lisbeth's fuck buddies is, you know, frustrated to hear that, yeah, Lisbeth is not monogamous with her. So, yeah, you know, he gets the thing to track Lisbeth, and you know, he uses it to trace her. Yeah, he's ready to trace her, and then he texts her, "When are you gonna fuck me again?" You know, and she like responds, "Soon." And then he traces, because she just sent, you know, that signal. He can trace that because he's NSA, and you know, he goes there, and it's like, she's clearly not here. And then he just says out loud, "She fucked me," and then she, like, you know, texts him back, "Just like I said I would." It was pretty funny, and I'm sorry, I didn't quite pick up. I think she took the phone that he'd been given by a partner and put another one in his pocket, knowing that that one would send him to the wrong place. Something, I'm not entirely sure, but it was funny. It accomplished nothing other than, you know, keeping him busy, keeping him in the movie for a little bit longer, even though he had nothing to do yet, and you know, showing that she does. Again, I mean, it's like, if she hadn't heard that, you know, or if he had noticed when she bumped into him or something. Yeah, like hypothetically, let's say that he had managed to grab her. You know, some people, most of us fall for that kind of thing, but some people are really alert. So when someone like bumps into them, or they're like, that guy slipped his hand in my pocket, you know, let's hypothetically say that he managed to grab her and like cuff her before she, like, I mean, she hasn't been established as like a master martial artist that could, you know, outfight an NSA guy. I don't know. I feel like the movie has too many of these things. You know, when the bad guys steal her laptop, she's literally just walking back. You know, if they had been ready to shoot her, or if she had made sure that her laptop was inaccessible when she took a bath or something, I just feel like it was a little lazily written. Too many times the characters are lazy or stupid, and yeah. So, Autre Vitel, I think, was how they pronounced it. Probably not. Like the, you know, Russian. It's the Russian word for poisonous spider, and it's like crime, you know, organized crime, which tells me that this was supposed to be a Venom crossover, a Spider-Man Venom crossover, but there were rights issues, and they decided, you know what, let's keep the poison spider thing in there. And let's see. Right, and Elizabeth fights the Autre Vitel guy in the bathroom, and it reminded me a lot of a Bourne movie fight. You know, one of the ones where he's fighting someone who's equal in ability. And she gets the syringe of poison injected, and let's see, yeah, and obviously the kid has the it's not said at this point in the movie, but it's obvious to the audience that the kid is important. He has the code or something. That's why they were there to grab him, and they didn't necessarily care if Boulder ended up dead or not. And after getting the poison, she grabs there's amphetamines in his what's it called, medicine cabinet. Are those supposed to be for treatment of something, or does he like to go partying on weekends? I really hope that medicine cabinet was not within reach of the kid, because that would be really messed up. But yeah, she grabs the methamphetamines, and it's basically to counter the poison, and then for the next little bit we see clearly she's being affected by both the poison and the meth. Now at first I thought that the idea was the meth will keep her going until she's able to get an antidote or some kind of, but she never did. So are we supposed to believe that the methamphetamines just flushed whatever was necessary to flush out of her system of the poison? That really seems, yeah. I so the moment that I saw it, I was like, oh, that'll get her adrenaline high enough that she can, the poison slows her heartbeat, the methamphetamine gets it high enough, like crank or something, I don't know. I'm not saying every movie has to be like Crank, or, if you will, Cranky. And she gets into the cop car, and the one cop is still sitting in the seat next to her. So when she makes a really sudden turn, he'll flop over on her, and she remote control, deploys airbags, which in the trailer that connected to the other car crash, which they put way too much stuff in trailers these days. They really gave away way too much of this movie in the trailers. Anyway, and the ultraviolet is smart kid, buckle up. That's safety first. That is, you are as smart as you're smart. And I don't know, I feel like some of these jokes, the cop flopping over on her and the guy being like, oh, smart kid, putting on the seatbelt, I don't know, I'm not sure they completely fit overall. I feel like there are maybe a couple of different tones here that they never completely gel, but I don't think it's a problem. In Venom, it's a problem, but here they're close enough, but just, I feel like it's maybe a little bit too much of a laugh at the expense of the right-hand man, Yeah, I don't know. But I guess you do, since I just said. Yeah, it's one of those, just without necessarily thinking, you say stuff like, or or totally. Right, and she gets the kid out of the car, and, he manages to stop their car with a submachine gun fire, and, she raises the bridge, and then, Elizabeth and Camilla are, the bridge apart. And, she uses some kind of hacking thing to disable the car alarms on a ton of cars. and the kid is like, focusing on this one really cool car, and then they use it, and I really want to like that moment, but I kind of feel like, why didn't she notice the really cool car? It just, I don't know. They wanted to have that kind of moment, and it was a wise decision. It's a really fast, maneuverable car. And it's the kind of thing where if the kid had been running along with Blomqvist, and the kid chose the car instead of Blomqvist, that makes sense. But why would Lisbeth, who's also really smart, and why wouldn't she choose such an obvious, yeah. Anyway, I appreciate that, it's very clear in the Fincher movie that Lisbeth either is Asperger or has some of the traits of Asperger's. And clearly this kid, in the Wikipedia for the book, it specifies he is autistic. I don't know if he's like full autistic or Asperger's or what exactly here in the movie, but he definitely does have some of the traits that, yeah, I don't know, I feel like I would personally lean more towards Asperger, but I don't know. And let's see, yeah, so putting the two of them together, and Lisbeth in general, she has not really taken care of a kid before this, other than trying to be there for her sister, which was that ended when she was 12 or so. And that's the thing, she's like, I have to protect this kid. I can't let it happen to another kid. I cannot let another kid be destroyed by, these evil groups that destroyed my sister. And, the kid expresses wanting to go home to his mother. And, Elizabeth hacks into, she makes Blomqvist's printer print out like a Google map, and like, it says "meet me here" over it. That was kind of funny. And we see the NSA guy arrested. And let's see. Right, and the kid is like, there's a call from his dead dad's phone to him, and he answers it, and I mean, I can't lie, if my dead mother suddenly called my cell phone, I would probably answer it and ask, so they do give out cell phones in the afterlife? But oh, that was the wrong note, never mind. Yeah, sorry. I'll try not to do that one over when I get to it. But no, the thing was that the kid was like, so my father's dead now, and I shouldn't think about it because and I'm like, kid, is his body even cold yet? Yikes. But he explains, if you think about things, time is like a vortex, and in Avengers 4 there's going to be time travel or alternate dimensions, and he doesn't want to get destroyed by that. So it makes sense. And there's a checkmate that the kid won, and there's a don't you want to finish the game? And it's like, oh, checkmate. And let's see. And where Joel Camilla works on from where their father left it when he died. and they staple together the, you know, the bullet wound shoulder. Something that something I kind of like in this movie about Balder. See, Balder is one of the Norse gods in Norse myth. One of, Aesir. I forget how it's supposed to be pronounced. Aesir. One of the gods of Asgard. Now, Balder in the myth is almost impossible to kill because his mother, Frigga, loved him so much that she went around in nature and asked every single type of tree, please don't kill my son Balder. Which means that if you made, and they did, they made arrows from all kinds of different wood, and shot him and hit him, and it did not kill him. But I think she ran out of time. Yeah, I forget exactly. Maybe was the sun about to set, or wait, go down rather, or did they run out of time before the celebrations? I forget exactly the details, but she was not able to ask the mistletoe not to kill him, which is why when he was attempted shot by mistletoe, it was essentially like a tow missile. And yeah, but none of the actual gods wanted to see Balder dead, so they didn't fire mistletoe at him. However, I forget his name, but one of the gods was blind, so he couldn't tell, he didn't know that was what was happening. Loki tricked him into firing mistletoe at Balder, which of course left Balder dead, but they couldn't, Loki was like, I didn't fire the arrow, don't look at me. So the TLDR, Balder was killed by an unwitting shooter made to kill that, person by someone who was in the exact situation, not quite able to, but did want him dead. I appreciate that. I don't know who exactly made the determination. I don't know how much, people not from Scandinavia even know that myth. It wasn't in the movies, I don't think Balder's been in any of the Thor movies. It's not like, let's see, it's not like it was part of Odin or, one of the Warriors 3 or something. And let's see, yeah, the Salander uses a smartphone to hack the NSA the thing to help NSA guy escape. It's not, when watching it I did not think, oh, so this is the NSA, he's in an NSA cell. So yeah, basically he, let's see, yeah, she leaves the bag in the middle of the airport, train station, I forget exactly, and walks away. And so they're like, this might be a bomb, we have to respond, and they put it through the scanner, and it's like all dildos, and then they're like, whatever, not our business. And but the one smartphone gets into their office, so she uses that to hack. I guess the idea is supposed to be, sometimes she just likes to solve problems by, getting out one or more dildos and just shouting, just packing them right up in there. Is there like a deleted scene where she tries to shove a smartphone up the Bjorman's ass as well, or is this? I don't know. It's just, it felt a little. Again, the sense of humor when it gets kind of crass or morbid or such, I'm not entirely sure. I think it worked for the movie, but it wasn't like, it didn't hugely detract. And you know, the one cop gets locked in with the people in the cells. You know, an NSA guy flees and agrees to help Lisbeth, and that was also just like, I get that he has to like keep them from leaving, but why would he go in there when he already knows that he wasn't the one who opened it. He knows that someone opened it who isn't on his side. Yeah. And you know, she's like, promise you'll save the kid or the door stays locked. And it's like, you know, if he's stuck there, you know, and it's also, oh, you can take the jump if that's what you want to do, you know. If he's stuck there for long enough, they will, you know, may be able to bust down the door behind him and they'll take him back. Honestly, the entire airport scene, it was a lot of fun. I feel like it should be like, I don't know, I haven't played Watch Dogs, but if you can't do more or less what you do in the scene in at least one of those games, I feel like somebody made a mistake along the way. And it's random that I noted it at this particular point. It's just, you know, as I was watching, I was like, oh yeah, this is something to note. The movie goes full Hollywood for the first time in the Millennium films. Goes full Hollywood with just how magic, you know, I guess I shouldn't say computers, because some of them are smartphones, you know, devices and hacking are just, they can do anything. And, right, and this is the part where the kid picks up the phone. And, you know, we find out that Camilla got to the kid before Lisbeth or Libby got back to the place. And it's like, you know, you're my sister, we're not going to shoot you. But poisoning her was fine. You were fine with shooting at least at her at the start of the movie. It's not as though she didn't know, oh, it's my sister. She, you know, she says, you know, I know the great Lisbeth Salander, and it's like, you can't possibly have been confused. You must have known all along that when you sent your guys to the warehouse, excuse me, or whatever it's called, where she lived at the start, near the start of the movie, you must have known that's Lisbeth Salander's place. Lisbeth Salander is the one who stole. I'm not even gonna try. Fire link? Hot fire links. Fire hot links. I don't know. The program. I don't know. It just seemed a little weird to me. It's not as though they were trying to take her prisoner and then they blew up the place. We're not going to shoot you. We're just going to try to shoot you earlier in the film, and then we're going to try to blow you up. It felt like they couldn't quite decide on whether they wanted her dead or not. And then you have the scene where, like, NSA guys like, you know, have some coffee from? No. And it's like, you know, don't touch that. It's vintage. Oh yeah, you know, what was it 4792? Oh yeah, that thing was hacked. Actually, it was a 4770, but let's not get too into details. You're War Child? Yeah, I was War Child, but the NSA pays better. Coffee creamer? That was kind of funny. And let's see. Right, and Camilla is trying to talk the kid into helping with the, let's see, what's it called? Helping start the program, and it's also like the kid saw her with the guys with guns who grabbed him. Of course, the kid's not going to be in any mood to help her in this kind of, yeah. And she's all like, I hear that you're the special, you're the one who can start your daddy's program, and then she like gets in front of him. Is anybody, hello, is anybody home in there? It's just, yeah, I don't know. I didn't think it really fit. I felt like it didn't quite, but, when she saw him cry, I really did feel like she should have said, please, no tears, it's a waste of good suffering. And I did not understand why they did not jump. Again, I realize I'm jumping back, but I almost noted it when I saw it, and then I didn't, but then later I was like, I gotta note this. Why did they not just jump when Elizabeth grabs Blomquist and they both slide down? It looks a lot like a lot of fun. Maybe that's why. Maybe she's like, no, you do not get to have any fun when you're working for me. If one of the guys had jumped down and slid down that thing, I mean, okay, she said, don't shoot, bring me my sister, shoot Blomquist. That was sorry. She didn't say, you're my sister, we're not going to shoot you. She said, bring me Lisbeth, shoot Blomquist, something like that. I guess she didn't care that much if they didn't shoot Blomquist. I mean, ultimately, there's not a lot he could do, I guess. And she also doesn't care if she gets her sister. See, that's the thing. And then near the end, she's like, I'm so glad I can enact my revenge upon you. Then why did you try to shoot her, blow her up, poison her? Just, no, I really wish that the villains were written consistently instead of just, I don't know, I feel like every single scene involving the villains written by a different person than the rest of them, maybe? Like, I don't know, they have maybe, let's say they have 10 scenes where there are 10 different people writing those scenes, so they didn't agree on what the objective was. I don't know, it just seems weird to me. And she like zaps the handrail, which, the electricity travels via, so he's, and then she like gets up close and attacks. That was very Splinter Cell. Like if she had caught one of them in a little puddle of water and like attacked with like a sticky shocker or a shocker or something. Yeah. And she also, right before the handrail zapping, he clearly hears her footsteps on the metal, which, before I realized that she was doing it intentionally to get him to move, I was like, has she not played any Thief game? Just, if you move fast on metal surfaces, it'll make noise. Cannot wait to play the first two games again. Yes, the first two. The two actual Thief games. And she, again, jumping back, but she said, I've been waiting to see you again. I had a speech prepared. I guess I should. Now I'm nervous. I guess I should have written it down. And I'm just sitting there like, yes, you did have the speech prepared because it was in the trailer. I guess we're not getting that or something. Just, yeah. And, Blomquist realizes that the Sopa girl is, not to be confused with one of the soap girls. The Sopa girl was the one who hired Camilla. And, she's like, if there's, a program that can, launch nukes and such, would you want the United States to have it, who never missed a war? Or us, Sweden, to have it, who never went to war? And I'm like, technically you didn't go to war, but it's not as though there's no... Some people would have been super happy if you had joined World War II. I'm just saying, I'm not talking to Sweden, I'm talking to the character in the movie. There are a couple of instances where some people were a little upset that you did not, in fact, join in the war, in any war, and just, I don't know. I realize it's not something you should take to, you know, it's... Yeah, you know, just because you haven't doesn't mean you never will, but and it's, you know, it's a clever little way to phrase it that, yeah. And yeah, we're told, you know, the Sapa girl was the client for the program, and did I get it right? Did she hum Itsy Bitsy Spider while the camera panned up? And then we see her in a gas mask. And then, like, they try to gas Lisbeth with... Sorry, Lisbeth. Which is also just this, like... Everything, you know, like the faucets and just everything, you know... Yeah. You know, blows out gas, and it's like they start fighting like 2 seconds after the gas starts pumping. It felt really excessive to have that many different gas things. You know, you could have had just one. That's the thing with this movie. I feel like it's like, oh look, we can do this, this, and this, and it's like, well, all you had to do was this, and now that you did this, this, and this, it actually kind of brings up the question, why didn't you just do this? In fact, you should have done this. That would have worked even better. Just, yeah. Anyway, it was a pretty decent fight but it is this thing of like, yeah. Anyway, the movie has some pretty good action scenes and settings for scenes in general, not only action scenes. But yeah, I wanted to know, the action scenes that involve the bad guys tend to be that the bad guys make a mistake so that the action scene can happen. I mean, I guess really the one exception to that is when they fight and end up with Boulder dead. That wasn't really them making a mistake as such. They realized that she would come in, so they waited for her. Yeah. And but other than that, you know, that when they steal her laptop at her place, let's see. Yeah, actually, yeah, the car chase, it would have been super easy for him to disable that car permanently. Like, he already shot the people, just like, I don't know, let's see, how would you disable, like, they can do everything with hacking in this movie. Are you telling me he couldn't have, like, hacked into the electrical systems and, like, killed the battery in some fancy way? You know, and then you have let's see. Yeah, and the fight in the gas. Because she was locked in, but then they immediately open the door and walk in there and try, just, if you waited just a little bit longer... And I feel like it didn't have to be that way. If they had been standing there like arms crossed and they're like, okay, it won't be too many more seconds before she'll succumb to the gas, and she like maybe like grabbed something and like hit the door really hard and it started to budge, and they're like, okay, crap, we gotta go stop her before she, you know, something. And we're told, you know, the syringes, you know, the red will leave him permanently blind. The black one, he won't survive. Why do they always have to go all the way? Imagine if he did survive, but in a state that was so horrifying that he wouldn't want to. But Hollywood almost never dares go all the way in. That was one of the many things about the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street. You know, when they bring up the idea and they immediately just get rid of, just, you know, I'm gonna keep you in a permanent nightmare state, just enough that I can get my fix, but never enough that it's so horrifying, and then they just don't. Anyway, and the Sapo girl is stabbed in the neck. So, you know, they want to keep the program for themselves. You know, with Camilla, she's got the, like, I think it's like a ring, like, you know, stab in the neck, and the, yeah. Which is, yeah. So I guess that's the spider bite then. The venom are the syringes, and that's the spider bite. And then we get to the part with the bondage gear or torture instrument or what it is that sucks the air out. I don't really... Let's see. This is another thing where I meant to add it to like trailer notes to before. I don't know for sure. But again, it was so like, what am I even watching? I'm sorry, but that's... I like this movie, and I like the trailers, but a lot of it was like, is this really supposed to be part of the millennium, and am I really seeing what I think I'm seeing? I don't know, but I think it might be at least a variation of a for real thing, because I'm fairly certain there is a thing where people will be in latex covering their body, and there's like a tube, you know, to supply oxygen, and the sexual partner is the one, you know, controlling the flow of oxygen. I don't know if you could like go out and buy one that's like in this movie where it sucks all the oxygen out, because at that point it is like it's a torture instrument or something. Like, I mean, that isn't even like a... Yeah, you know, yeah, at the end of the Fincher movie, he puts a plastic bag over his head. You know, that's... You know, if you buy a plastic bag, they can't know that you're going to try to kill someone with it. But this thing, it kind of seems like it could only be used to kill, but... Excuse me, and I'm just... Excuse me, thinking, you know... Where's Gina Carano with a match? Did she get out of it out of sheer willpower, or did we... I don't think we saw the knife, but I feel like if she had a knife, but why would Camilla leave her with a knife? Again, we're back with the bad guys making mistakes so the good guys can... Anyway, she must have, like, if she used a knife to cut just a little bit of a hole or something, but it could be read as if just using willpower, which is absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, she's like, you know, let's see. Yeah, she's like, you left me behind, and I'm sitting there like, that is really not what it looked like in the opening, but, you know, and she's like, and I blame you for what he did to me, and it's what I said earlier, the thing of like, why did you not rescue me instead of, I wish that I had gone with you when I had the chance, you know. But anyway, and she drips hot wax onto the little hole for the mouth. And then the sniper thing, using the 3D map, and, you know, and the guy gets stabbed with his own syringe. You know, the blinder has become the blinded. Sorry, not in the neck. The kid stabs him in like the leg or something from lying down. And then like the guy. Yeah, before he's completely blind, he jumps out of, you know, intentionally, but people in this movie are always making these dramatic jumps off edges. Most of them do survive these jumps, but I don't know, I feel like someone writing this was a little too excited about that prospect. And, Elizabeth explains, I couldn't go back. And she's like, you chose him. And, yeah, and she falls into, I mean, we don't see her die, but it kind of looks like a cloud of snow kind of thing that she, yeah. And let's see. Excuse me. Okay, and before NSA guy got to the computer, Elizabeth deleted the program and left, sorry, it's what Balder would have wanted. And let's see. Blomqvist is writing again, and his article is the title of the book and the title of the movie, but then he deletes it Daredevil style. And those were the notes that I took while watching the movie, which takes us into notes taken before watching. And excuse me. Yes. Now, a lot of the time when I try to voice type Elizabeth, it comes out wrong. So I went with Elizabeth some of the time for voice typing the following notes. If I accidentally call her Elizabeth, that's why. I know that's not her name, but sometimes when I read out notes, I forget to correct it back to the right version of the name, which is also why I forget if I actually did. But in the more recent videos in movies that involve Thor, I say Chris or Crimson Hemsworth, Chris Hemsworth instead, because Thor often comes up as Thor instead. Now, everything I say about these is based on the movies. I have not read a word of any of the books. I might have already said that. Reading the wiki plot of the book, huge differences. Honestly, it barely seems like there are similarities other than like names and alliances. Like, there's a Balder and he has an autistic kid, but maybe I misread, but I didn't see anything about an actual program. I mean, I don't know. I feel like you wouldn't be able to write the wiki plot part without mentioning that program. It's what the whole movie's about. It's what everyone is, trying to get their hands on. And it's not even mentioned unless I missed it, but yeah. And a lot of things are different. I'm not going to go into I just wanted to make sure that I knew. If you want to know the exact ones, Wikipedia is where you'll find it, but I wanted to know if a lot of the different stuff, the stuff in this that's very different from the first three, whether that's the novel, since it's a different novelist, or it's because of the people making this movie adaptation. And it kind of seems like a lot of it was the movie adaptation thing. The book sounds a lot closer from the wiki plot to the first three, where this movie kind of feels like they pushed it into, some critics have said it's almost like Bond. Yeah, that let's see. Yeah, the whole, with nuclear missile kind of thing, that is very James Bond, really not very Millennium or Elizabeth Salander. Now, I was wondering if this was going to maintain those stupid Swedish accents of the American version of the first book, which, other than that, I love that one even more than the Swedish one, which I also loved and still do. Honestly, I feel like just pronounce every Swedish word the American way, names and all. Anyway, some of the actors are trying for the Swedish accent and some other word pronunciation, some word pronunciations and such, but not all. Yeah, it didn't bother me as much as the first time that I watched the Fincher movie. And just some brief notes that I took while, the Fincher movie. Incredible pitch-perfect performance by Rooney Mara, a stronger introduction to Elizabeth, more visual with reenactments in place of stills. Michael sees Harriet and his daughter somewhat. Michael seeks out Elizabeth rather than the other way around. That makes more sense since she's not a social person and he is used to working with others and other researchers. Right before she deals with Michael the first time, she readies her taser just in case. They only meet halfway through the movie, which I'm almost certain wasn't the case in the Swedish one. The way he convinces her to help is by telling her that he wants her to help catch a killer of women. She eats Billy's frozen pizzas. I don't know if they have them outside of Scandinavia, but they are freaking delicious. So they should. Not long after we meet her, we see that all she has in her fridge is junk food and soda. So, much like my own. It is perhaps a tad obvious that Martin is the villain, considering who he's played by. Elizabeth is less at fault for the death of Martin. If she hadn't ridden the motorcycle so close to him, he wouldn't have crashed, but there really wasn't much time for her to save his life, and she didn't fire the gun, where in the Swedish version, she watches him as it gets closer to him dying, rather than trying to save his life. And the ending sees Elizabeth sad that Michael's back with his colleague, and we feel her pain. I don't really have a problem with the Claire Foy Lisbeth Salander, and I don't think that you can't entirely judge based on this movie, because there are a number of things where it's not quite like the others, but Rooney Mara does remain my favorite, what I consider the definitive Lisbeth Salander. I think it would be extremely difficult to dethrone her. But there are some things that Claire Foy gets absolutely perfectly. And just in a number of ways, this doesn't feel that much like her. Excuse me. Now, since this movie includes, Lisbeth's sister, I was never really a fan of when her own family is brought into these, and I was wondering if this would find a good balance. I'm not saying all of these should be like the first one, but I don't know. I think this one feels, ultimately in this one, though she doesn't know it right away, at the end of the day, in this movie, Camilla is the main villain. She is the one behind all of every you've got a couple of different factions. You've got the NSA, you've got the Sapo, but ultimately she is the villain. She is the one who does the bad things and has other people do bad things for her, which is not completely what let's see, the second movie, it was kind of about figuring out, ultimately it wasn't quite, or is it? I don't know, I may not be the best judge. But anyway, in this movie, very clearly it is this thing of her sister is the main villain. Plain and simple. She doesn't know from right away, we do because we watch the trailers, but that is the way it is. And at the very end, they are face to face, and there's there's a verbal confrontation, which is perfect. And I think I found it more compelling than the one from the second movie where it's her father, because it's just, he says I hate you and he says you're stupid. I think it's essentially he is another in the long line of men who hate women, men who hurt women, where in this it's they try to make the character more, ultimately I'm not sure that Zara, when we finally meet him at the end of the second movie, I don't think he's supposed to really be anything other than another. He's essentially the Ur men who hate women. He's the first one. He's the proto. That was the first time Elizabeth met a man who had power over women, who used that power to hurt them. and that's essentially, there's not a lot of like, they even say, oh, but you tried to kill me, that's just business, but in this, it's still kind of business, but there's this sense that there's something more going on there, and she wants to, and yeah, both of them say some really compelling things to each other. There's no doubt that Camilla, did some incredibly evil things, but she did also, Martin was interesting up to the very end in the first, and let's see, in the third, you really hate the child psychiatrist guy, and he's memorable. So yeah, it's basically one of those. I think for that it works better than the, let's see, than 2 or 3, and 1, but that one didn't really pretend to have one. But yeah, I mean, it is essentially, she is, the couple of movies ago in the trailer, like, Mission Impossible, they're like the anti-IMF, and here Camilla is the anti-Elizabeth Salander. She is not someone who goes around helping women against the men who hurt them. She's someone who's willing to hurt, women and children, for her own gain. And yeah, it's and it is, again, I really wish they hadn't put it in the trailers, even though it is really compelling and it's attention grabbing, it gets the audience in the seats, but it's from the very end of the movie. They really should not have put, why did you not save me? That should not have been in the trailer, because it gives way too much, but that is really compelling. And Elizabeth admits, yes, I didn't come back. I could have, but I didn't. And that's genuinely compelling. That's one of the best things in this movie, is that confrontation and them both, especially when in this movie, right at the very start, it's established she's been doing this thing for a while now. It seems like movies 2 and 3 did happen, not only Fincher's, but which raises questions, because Fincher's was very different from the Swedish one, so how different were those other two? But anyway, clearly, some time has passed, and she's made this her job, basically. She's going around helping women, and for 3 years, Camilla has been going around doing what was most, acting entirely out of self-interest, doing what benefited her the most, regardless of how many it hurt. She was very happy to keep the program, for example. Now, let's see. I also did rewatch my own videos on. See, I don't only inflict them upon others. I watch them myself too. I forget if I said this in them. The third movie disposes of the bad guy build up to in the second movie immediately, which is really frustrating. I don't think did I finish my thought? Anyway, I rewatched the videos that I myself did on the Millennium films leading up to this one over the last couple of days, so that I would, Now, let's see. Movies 1 and 2 have scene of forced sex, not only described or seen in flashbacks, but in present tense. And movies 1 and 2, Elizabeth has consensual sex at least once and gets naked. And Elizabeth uses a taser well, and she's fine with using like a pistol such as a Beretta and riding a motorcycle. That's somewhat in this as well. Not a Beretta, I don't think, but other than that. And catharsis, revenge, men who hate women are punished by Lisbeth. Really, that should have been the series title instead of Millennium, rather than the title of the first book, since all of them are about men who hate women. I mean, when he wrote the first one, didn't he already know he was going to do more than one? I don't know. I didn't note this, but it was on the page, on the Wikipedia page. I read the entire one, not just the plot synopsis, for the book behind this movie. The longtime partner of Stieg Larsson, after, when they chose this new author, she said it was a truly idiotic choice to continue the book. I'm sorry, she does not mince words, and I appreciate that. And having not, based on this, but then based on how much was apparently changed from the book, I don't know, I guess I kind of, from what I read, it sounds like he does try to keep it close to the others. It's just that the filmmakers didn't particularly want to. So, the titles are, in order, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, The Girl Who Played with Fire, The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest, and now The Girl in the Spider's Web. While all of these are evocative, and 1 to 3 are ones that can happen, but for this, that has to be one giant-ass spider. Maybe the spider is sympathetic to the hornets in the nest that she kicked? The book was released mid-2015. Was this supposed to be a Spider-Man story before he went MCU? Then again, literally the only of these titles not to be altered for the English version, rather than merely translated from English to English from the Swedish one original, which is quite possible, is The Girl Who Played with Fire, the second one. Literally all of the other ones are changed, and it still is pretty silly that, the first one, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, I think, was it Natalie, I can't believe I ContraPoints. I think she said, it's The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo makes it sound like a, kind of a fetish kind of thing, when really, I guess you could go into it for that, but you're not really going to be very satisfied if, it's not barbed wire, but if you watch Barbed Wire to stare at Pamela Anderson in tight, lingerie type stuff, yeah, the movie's got plenty of that. But if you watch the first movie to ogle Lisbeth, and not only does that really, really miss the point, but it's not even, it's not made for that. Now, right, the first story is a murder mystery with some tension and physical danger. The second is an action crime story, such a big difference. And then the third is about spies spying on other spies for spy reasons, using spy tools and spy craft. And there's also a trial to determine if Lisbeth will be put back in a mental institution, and there's a conspiracy. Lisbeth spends the first half of the story recovering in the hospital, and the second half in jail and in the courtroom. And then this is essentially like Mission Impossible or James Bond or something. It is, the world is threatened by nuclear war, and Lisbeth has to either put in the right hands or destroy the one copy that it is possible to have of the this program. And it is they make sure that it can't be copied, and it can't be copied. It can only be moved permanently. You can move the entirety of it from one device to another device, but that's it. So as long as that particular device ends up in the hands of the good guys or is destroyed, then everything is fine. Now, and from the trailers, I guess that the fourth story would have bigger and more action than the first three combined, which more or less. You know, it really, let's see. I was gonna say that, yeah, I'm not sure it's necessarily like, yeah, you know what, that fits fine. And I've already gone into another, you know, the third movie ends with Lisbeth not really fighting, but outmaneuvering her half-brother, something that really wasn't built up to in the movie. He's barely in the movie. He's, you know, basically he's laying low for almost the entire movie. He's hiding out at this place, and then he kills the people there, then he, you know, gets a car and moves to another place. But he hid out, you know, he knew that it was basically a safe house, the building there, that, you know, and then at the end of the movie, she inherits, and the building is one of the things that she inherits, and so she realizes he must be there. But yeah, he's in much more of the second movie. He does almost nothing in the third movie. He even dies off screen. And Elizabeth doesn't kill him, she just arranges it, and it really is, yeah. I think I say in the video, I really think that both Zara and Ronald Niederman should have died at the very end of the second, whether it's Lisbeth killing or it isn't. And then at the start of the third movie, instead of like, oh, should we kill this guy? We gotta, you know, it should be like, now that Zara's dead, we have to worry that people are gonna look into what he was doing before he died, and that could affect us. Now, in movies 2 and 3, Millennium, the magazine, is a big part of the movie. Not really here. And in the trailer, we've got the husband, you know, who are you? I'm off on reckoning. And, you know, in this bit, she does for another one what she does in the first, you know, film or book for herself, with some details altered, of course. So she took her show to the road, it seems. The trailer makes it look like Lisbeth is sort of a vigilante this time, which would be the first time in these, at least as far as the movies go. If she is in a position to, she will help a battered woman, but she doesn't really seek out people to take revenge off. They tend to fall into her lap, come up as she's already trying to get information. Excuse me. Now, the trailer kind of makes this, excuse me, Blomqvist look too pretty, not gritty. Excuse me, enough. Not every man who looks like a movie star. In the final movie, I don't think it was really a big problem. You don't get enough of an idea from the trailer, but they don't play him like a movie star, at least, which is something I really appreciate. And yeah, you know, the trailer, the world will burn, and we see missiles. So yeah, this really is James Bond. I have been staunchly in favor of, for a while now, don't put that in the movie trailer. Don't put that in the movie trailer. If something is not going to happen in the movie, then don't show the thing of it almost happening in the trailer. The movie was never going to show missiles launching. The brief clip we see of, like, you know, oh, the missiles are starting to launch, that's, you know, something, oh yeah, that was the test of the thing, you know. Just, I really don't think, just don't put that in the trailer. Keep that kind of thing out of the trailer, and just have, I mean, let's see, what would be, I don't see, you know, maybe they could have had just a brief little bit where, you know, yeah, Balder briefly describes what the program can do. That could have been put in the trailer, because that is something that we're worried about for the whole movie. But the moment that we see in the movie itself, oh no, those, you know, those missiles readying for launch, that was just a test. And yeah. Now, And the trailer tagline, "Discover how the girl became the girl." That is not very exciting. That really, wow. But yeah. And let me think. There was something I wanted to put there. Let's see. Yeah, so it was like, discover how the girl became Ethan Hunt. That would have fit. Now, Lisbeth doesn't really have positive relationships with other people, very, very, very rarely, at least. And I think that worked. Her relationship with the kid, August, is that his name? I thought that worked, and let's see. I guess. Yeah, that's more or less it. I guess I would have to watch it again. I'm not sure that this particularly does something interesting with the relationship of Blomqvist and Lisbeth. Which, again, in the first one they have an interesting relationship, and then in the second one it's this thing of she's trying to outrun them and get like physical evidence, whilst he trusts her. He is certain she did not kill those people, and so he's trying to gather evidence outside. And then in the third they don't really interact to all that much. It's just these brief like texts back and forth basically. And but yeah, I feel like there should be something interesting to do with their relationship, where really ultimately there isn't particularly, unless I missed it. I really should have made a note to try to see how their relationship is anyway. And just putting it out there, these movies kind of further the stereotype that people who are goths have some kind of personal problem. They may have good intentions, but there's something wrong with them emotionally. It is entirely possible to be goth and have a well-adjusted personality. Some people like the aesthetic. Plenty of people who look completely normal have far bigger emotional issues, and that's a little frustrating, especially considering that it is really going for, it's supposed to be empowering. So, yeah, it's, anyway. I've read the original script for Halloween 2018, absolutely love it. Now, Rooney Mara's Lisbeth has Asperger's, which I hear is also in the books. It doesn't, but Foy's does, at least in part, but it came across stronger to me in Fincher's movie. Now, the midterms will help show if the MAGA bomber is enough for Trump supporters to realize how dangerous his violent rhetoric is. No, I'm not saying it's entirely his fault, but the targets chosen, yeah, if Trump hadn't been out there with this violent rhetoric, yeah, there's a chance that it wouldn't, or at least that it wouldn't have been as widespread, so many pipe bombs. Anyway, that brings us to the final countdown. IMDb, Wikipedia, and critics' sites. So, when earlier today, before I left the theater, this movie had 68% on the tomato meter, which I think it had like 73 earlier, with an average rating of 5.8 out of 10, 19 reviews counted, and 13 of them fresh. And that's not enough for a consensus, and 95% voted want to see, with 354 user ratings. Now, I'm not gonna read aloud reviews unless I really have something to say about them. Let's see. See, the whole thing feels rote, like a previously unconnected generic thriller screenplay that was rewritten to be part of Lisbeth's universe. That I would agree with. And yeah, this one guy says, Foy and Alvarez, I believe Alvarez is the director, have still spun the old and new elements together in an effective web. If this is a trap, it's one you won't hurry to escape from, or even fear being caught in again. I will definitely say I would happily rewatch this movie. I'm very happy to report I have not watched anything in theaters in a long time that I wouldn't be happy to watch again, at least one more time. And if they make more, and they do it somewhat similarly to this movie, I will definitely, well, I'm almost definitely going to go watch it regardless. That's not really a high bar. I would look forward to it. If in a couple, I think there's at least one more book that has already been written. It came out like last year or something. So if in like a year or two they say, okay, here's the newer one, the latest one. Yeah, if the trailer looked good, I would be looking forward to it. And let's see. Yeah, and this is a pretty good quote. The film is less focused on men who hurt women and more concerned about men and women who threaten the world order. And yeah. The girl with the dragon tattoo is back and badder than ever in a secret agent story that's part bond, part bondage. And the girl in the spider's web is content to simply reimagine her as something jejune, I don't know, and small. It turns her into a superhero. And yeah, kind of. I mean, she doesn't have superpowers unless that, other than the hacking. But yeah, she's essentially a superhero. Which is also, I mean, in 2011, not as much, but today, superhero movies do huge. So yeah, I don't know if it always, like, they first decided, I mean, the book came out in like 2015, and then almost immediately, same year at least, Sony was like, we're gonna make a movie out of the book that just came out, instead of waiting for years and years for that to, which does essentially make sense, but I'll get more into that. The thing that I wanted to say was that superhero in 2015. Let's see. Actually, I don't know exactly when, but 2011 wasn't. It wasn't at that point already. Of a thing where, like, if you put out a superhero movie, you can be absolutely 100% sure it'll do well. But since then, in the years between 2011 and this, it became quite clear, if you put out a superhero movie, even if it doesn't necessarily have to be connected to a franchise that people already know really well and such, but if you put out a superhero movie, not just a vigilante movie, but a superhero movie, yeah, I mean, part of it is also that this is kind of a spy story, but Lisbeth herself isn't a spy. She's not in the other movies, and she isn't here. She's a vigilante. She's a vigilante in this, and yeah, she's a vigilante in this, which is really the moment that you remove her from all the other, in the first one she's trying to track down a serial killer, and in the second it's she's framed and dragged back into this thing with her father, and then the third she has to help fight but in this she's completely free to do what she wants and ends up a vigilante. And yeah, I mean, you wouldn't have to change a whole lot for this to be like one of, yeah, like an MCU, a Captain America movie, you know. So let's see now. Let's see. And it's also a, let's see. I mean, that is all. The second and third Captain America movies did get a lot of their style and approach from spy thrillers. So with how much of this is like a spy thriller, yeah, of course it's gonna feel somewhat like Captain America movie when it has the, yeah. Now, right, this review says, here Foy perfectly captures Slander's monosyllabic repression as well as the no-nonsense physicality, trusty taser by her side. And film dutifully takes the elements from Dragon Tattoo that audiences will likely remember, places them in a blander, action-forward context, and that's, yeah, very true, and that's also what it looked like from the trailers. You know, all of the reviews I have here are ones I read before watching the movie. Now, The Girl in the Spider's Web loses a bit of individuality without Fincher Mara, but succeeds as a gripping, visually impressive thriller featuring an explosive Claire Foy. Claire Foy proves to be perfectly respectable Elizabeth Salander, but like Spider's Web itself, the elaborate effort put forth hardly seems worth it, and yeah, unfortunately. And Alvarez's film isn't a harsh character study or brutal indictment of misogynistic society. It's a fast-moving thriller about nuclear launch codes, and there's hardly any time for little luxuries like character development and themes. And yeah, I'm gonna, let's see. When the NSA guy got out that huge sniper, was that in the, like, was it a car trunk or something he had full of weapons? Because it looked like it was too big to fit in there. Wouldn't, like, how did he get that thing, excuse me, past all the security who already didn't particularly want him to be there? I mean, when, it was one thing when Jason Bourne, you know, snuck a WA-2000 sniper, you know, in the second movie. That was, yeah, you know, in that movie it makes perfect sense. I'm not gonna go into detail about why, but when you watch that movie, it's like, oh, that's how he, yeah, okay. You know, if I recall, he hid it in the never mind. Let's see. And okay, almost scroll through all of them. Yeah. So yeah, those were the reviews. Now for some wiki and IMDb stuff. So right, you know, this is written by David Lagerkrantz. rather than the original author Stieg Larsson, who died of a heart attack in 2004, which slowed down his own efforts towards creating a novel. Writing a Ouija board takes forever. Now, let's see. Oh, the program is called Firewall. I mean, I get... Okay, I mean, that's already a thing in computer. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so the other movies directed by the same director are the Evil Dead remake and Don't Breathe, so that's very different from this movie. I mean, don't get me wrong, everybody has a first movie of that genre, but such a big budget one, this dude hadn't done action before, and the first action movie they give him is something this big. Oh, and he worked on From Dusk Till Dawn, the series, which I have not watched any of. Might at some point. Now, so a list of candidates for Lisbeth Salander: Natalie Portman, Scarlett Johansson, Felicity Jones, Alicia Vikander, Ellen Page, Kristen Stewart, Emily Browning, Jennifer Lawrence, Keira Knightley, Anne Hathaway, Olivia Thirlby, Yolanda Visser, and Emma Watson. Honestly, I can see all but Portman in the role. I don't know, I haven't watched every movie she's done, but I don't really see... No, actually, you know what? No, I could see any of... I will say I haven't seen Olivia Thirlby in very much, and I've only seen Yolandi Visser in Chappie, but, I don't think anything... There wasn't really anything wrong with her work in that. And, Emma Watson, I've only seen in, Noah, I think. So, yeah, I'm still have not watched any Harry Potter, and I doubt that will change. Kristen Stewart would kick so much ass as Lisbeth Salander. I don't think I can really think of anything about her in that role that isn't basically perfect. I like Claire Foy, and I would still love to see Rooney Mara come back, but if it's not one of those two, then I really do hope Kristen Stewart, she would kick so much ass in the role, and it would help shut up the people who say that Twilight was not her fault. She did what she was directed to do. When you watch her performance in those movies and you watch her performance in other movies, clearly she is an incredibly competent actress. It's just that the direction she was given for those movies. And do note that she pretty much hates those, so it's not, I think I read it once. Maybe she thought it would help her profile. Every actor at some point says, okay, I don't really want to do this. Every artist at some point says, I don't really want to take this gig or job or whatever, but it'll put my name out there, and other people will start paying more attention to the other really good work. You know, I mean, there are tons of actors I only know because, well, they, you know, if, I mean, how many of us would know the, let's see, actually, yeah, those are not good examples because those are good performances, but just, if the, actually, yeah, well, the first time I was, you know, let me think. I don't have any good examples, sorry, but, and let me think. No, yeah, other than that, well, actually, yeah, Felicity Jones and Alicia Vikander, I haven't seen enough to say, I would say, but, no, and that's also, yeah, from Wikipedia from the Fincher movie. Casting was complicated by the raft of prominent candidates, which, I mean, it's an interesting, but yeah, I mean, kind of, there are, these would be incredible. I mean, Kristen Stewart hasn't really had one, well, I mean, I guess, let's see, her Joan Jett, of course, but other than that, I mean, her Twilight isn't something she's proud of. She did a great job as Snow White, but I think it would be nice for her to have one that people could point to and say, you know, that's a role that Kristen Stewart really helped define, which, I mean, Scarlett Johansson, you know, if she, 100 years from now, people will still, you know, oh yeah, Black Widow, awesome, you know, Natalie Portman, I mean, for one thing, the prequels, you know, Padme Amidala, Jennifer Lawrence will always have both Katniss Everdeen and Mystique, but yeah, and Ellen Page, I guess possibly, at least something like, yeah, isn't she in Super? I haven't watched that, but she's good in it. But yeah, you know, can't believe I'm blanking on her name right now. I love the character, comic and, well, especially in the comics. Shadowcat, Kitty Pryde. Now, so yeah, IMDb trivia. Follow-up from David Fincher's 2011 film, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Despite it being a reboot of the Millennium film series, and that, yeah, I mean, that is weird. You know, so I was wondering, are they gonna make reference to the first book, which was made into an American movie, to books 2 and 3, which were made into Swedish films that some Americans did watch, none of them, you know, basically, yeah, since the book came out in 2015, they wanted to put the then most recent book on screen as quickly as they could. You know, they probably wanted to also get there before a Swedish version got there, which, you know, maybe in a couple of years we'll see a Swedish version of this. And yeah, but that is a weird decision, and I also think it's a weird decision that the movie does not really make it clear. I think, I mean, let's see. What are some things in the movie that mean that it couldn't possibly be the first? Couldn't be that only the first one happened. She said, the female editor at one point says, you wrote 2 things, and one of them, she helped you catch that killer, and the other one was about her. Something like that. That can't mean the first movie only then. The thing he wrote that was about her would have to be in the third. Let's see, in the second one, the second and or third. Yeah, so okay, so those did happen. And I mean, I guess if you didn't watch the Swedish movies, you don't know exactly what's being referred to there. And I mean, ultimately, you don't have to. It's not absolutely critical. But you, yeah, I don't know. It's okay. So chronologically, this movie does take place after movies 2 and 3, and it also doesn't need you to have to have watched the Swedish movies. I mean, essentially, you can watch this and not, that's hence soft reboot. You can watch just this one and none of the others, and you will be able to follow it because the first time you meet Blomqvist, it's like, oh, Blomqvist, dude, and Elizabeth gets a nice strong intro in this as she did in the Fincher movie. Yeah, you can watch just this one. If you watch just this one, if you haven't watched the other ones first, you're gonna be real surprised when you watch those. But yeah, bottom line, I mean, I feel like this was essentially a movie about it was a Mission Impossible movie, or possibly like a yeah, more or less that kind of thing. And considering that, I think it did a pretty good job of exploring characters and themes as well. Honestly, my biggest issue is that the villains, the actions that they take don't really make sense considering what they're trying to, like, excuse me, if the, I don't know, maybe Camilla was fine with Lisbeth dying one of the times they attacked her. It's just that when they didn't have to kill her, she was like, don't bother killing her, we'll bring her back. I just feel like, based on the way she behaves once they are alone together and she can torture her, it seems as though this is something she's wanted to for a long time. And this was basically her chance to do it. More than, oh, well, I mean, I have you, I might as well, go ahead and do this too. It really felt like it wouldn't have taken much rewriting to have them try to capture her the first couple of times that they interact. Just have them use sleeping darts or something, but as it is, it just doesn't really make a lot of, yeah. My biggest problems with the movie are the fact that the actions taken by the villain and her henchmen and such don't always seem to make sense for what they seem to want to accomplish with whether they want to capture or kill, I almost called her Katniss, Lisbeth. It's a little disappointing that it's that this so easily could be a Mission Impossible movie, considering that it's supposed to be a Millennium movie, and that those have something. I mean, I love a lot about the Mission Impossible, I've done videos on the various movies, I'm not going to get into it here, but some of those movies are amazing. I don't think that Lisbeth Salander belongs in them. And let's see, so those are two of the points. I wish it wasn't quite so Hollywood, because Fincher's version wasn't, which, I mean, Fincher isn't a Hollywood director, but I was still a little surprised that the American version, I mean, there's some Hollywood, definitely, but in a lot of the places where it really counts, it isn't Hollywood-like. So, let's see. I guess those are really the three things about it that I wish were, better. But then, you also have, I quite like the relationship between August and Lisbeth. I think there's a lot of compelling material between Camilla and Lisbeth. Again, I wish that they were consistent in showing her trying to capture Lisbeth, to torture her like she was tortured by their father. Let's see. I thought the action and settings were quite memorable. You know, it's difficult to do to go somewhere others haven't already, considering how many spy thrillers there are now. Let's see. It kept to a really good pace. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, if I hadn't watched the trailers and I thought that this was going to be really, really like the first three, I would have been disappointed based on that. But knowing that it was going to be somewhere between that and then like Mission Impossible, some like Bourne style action, like the fight in the bathroom, but it's more of a Mission Impossible thing. You know, Bourne is not really about, you know, missile launch codes and such. That's Mission Impossible. So yeah, I went in hoping that it would be enjoyable, even if not quite Millennium, and I found it very enjoyable. So yeah, and that covers everything I had noted. So I hope you enjoyed watching as I enjoyed watching and recording, and I will catch you next time.